Welcome back to our Tales channel. If you watched part 1, then you already know our writer followed a stranger she believed genuinely needed help. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. At what point would you have walked away from this situation? Now, let's continue the story. The man suddenly looked worried and explained that some chemicals he imported were being held by customs officers. According to him, they were about to seize everything. Just then, his phone rang, and he answered quickly, sounding nervous and stressed about the situation. As he spoke on the phone, she heard him promise the caller that he was bringing the money immediately. He then asked the driver how much longer the journey would take. The driver replied confidently, saying they were almost there and should arrive soon. After ending the call, the man turned to the passengers with fresh panic in his voice. He explained that the customs agents refused to wait any longer. He needed to send part of the money quickly to stop his goods from being seized. The total payment was 6 million naira, but for now, a deposit of 500,000 naira would be enough. Once his dollars were exchanged, he promised he would settle everything. He will repay whoever helped him immediately. Our writer remained silent, expecting the elderly woman to volunteer first. Instead, the older woman turned to her to help. She even suggested our writer call a friend to send the money, reminding her to negotiate a commission. Opportunities like this did not come every day, she joked. The listener admitted that she should never have considered the idea. Yet, she had money sitting in her account already. It was her share of the due rent money, waiting until her roommate could contribute the remaining balance for their apartment. She was a student at the University of Lagos. Losing it would create serious problems. Still, she thought quietly, what if this was her chance to multiply her money? The man sounded grateful and promised repayment. The elderly woman supported the plan, and after all, this was someone who had mistakenly paid $100 for a cheap ride. The possibility of earning a reward started to feel real. She imagined paying her rent without stress and even keeping the room to herself during her final year. Among students on campus, living alone was considered a major achievement. Finally agreed to help. Before sending any money, she negotiated firmly and requested 1 million naira in return for a 500,000 naira loan. The money was transferred to an OP account. She immediately showed the receipts to the man. Meanwhile, the driver kept moving deeper into unfamiliar roads until they finally stopped beside an abandoned warehouse. Looking around, she wondered why anyone would exchange money in such a place. The driver looked around and announced that the place had closed for the day. As everyone discussed what to do next, the man's phone rang once again. His expression changed immediately. The customs officer, according to him, was now demanding additional 500,000 deposits. The driver quickly suggested borrowing money through a loan app so the goods would not be seized permanently. By now, she was angry and confused. Why was she the only one expected to help? If the situation was truly urgent, why weren't the driver and the elderly woman offering their own money to save the man's business? During the disagreements, the man quietly pulled her aside to explain things privately. He said the chemicals were worth billions. According to him, he had plenty of dollars waiting in his hotel room and only needed temporary help until he could retrieve them safely. The man explained that he had followed the driver only to locate the exchange point. If she borrowed the remaining money using a loan app, he promised to hand over enough dollars to cover everything and more. He even suggested paying off the driver so they could complete the transaction privately. According to him, fewer people involved meant fewer problems. At the time, his explanation sounded surprisingly reasonable. Eventually, they started the return trip. The elderly woman complained loudly about wasting her afternoon, while the driver asked who would pay for the special trip they had just completed. Not wanting more arguments, she paid the driver herself. The elderly woman continued grumbling until they reached the main road again. She got down immediately and disappeared. We returned back to where the Cotonou man first alighted while thanking the driver for his time. He pointed to a nearby hotel and explained that he was staying there. If you're interested in starting your own AI influencer business, I'll show you everything from script writing to creating stunning images and engaging videos. Check the pinned comment for details. The building was not luxurious or expensive looking. It was simply a small motel that blended into the surroundings. Inside, he collected his room key from the receptionist and asked her to wait for him in the lobby. Confident that the nightmare was finally ending, She sat down and waited patiently. Minutes passed slowly as she watched people move in and out of the building. After 20 minutes, a security guard approached and politely asked why she was still sitting there. Confused, so she walked to the reception desk for answers. She asked for the security man to call the man downstairs. Instead, the receptionist asked a simple question that changed everything. "What is his name, madam?" She froze immediately. After everything that had happened, she realized he did not know his full name. Suddenly, the possibility of a scam felt painfully real. Desperate, she begged them to check their records. The receptionist noticed her growing panic but explained that hotel information could not be shared with strangers. Then came the shocking truth. Cotonou man had told the receptionist he was visiting a friend staying in room 13. Since a man in same room had called an hour earlier expecting a man, the receptionist had no reason to check further. After explaining her fear, she was allowed to follow the security officer to room 13. Her heart raced as they approached the door. When they finally opened it, the room was empty. Nobody was inside waiting for visitors. Back downstairs, hotel staff checked their records once more. They discovered that the man who booked room 13 had already checked out. Nobody knew who he was or whether the name he used was genuine. Reality hit her all at once. The money was gone! The hotel eventually asked her to leave because there was nothing more they could do. She explained the story repeatedly while curious people listened nearby. Some looked shocked while others struggled to hide their amusement. Staff explained they could not search every room or question every guest. Her only option now was reporting the matter to police authorities, and there was no camera to catch the criminal. At the police station, after officers blamed her for being naive, asked how much money was involved and whether she could provide money to support an investigation. "And we will need mobilization money, my dear." Moreso, they explained that the case falls outside their area of jurisdiction. Feeling hopeless, she called a friend who suggested contacting the OPay number that received the money. The person who answered introduced himself as a POS business owner, claimed that a customer arrived in a jeep, paid his service charge for the 2 transactions and disappeared. By this point, she felt completely drained, embarrassed, and exhausted. She had lost her rent money and now owed money from loans as well. What should she do next? She wrote. Her rent deadline was approaching, the debt repayment is now due, and she wondered whether I could help set up a GoFundMe online, as this was now her only option left. "Madam, we don't do such here. If this is your first time here, subscribe for more anonymous stories. Have you ever been scammed? Drop your story so we can all learn."